Okay class, so we're focusing on chapter 7 that deals with understanding interpersonal relationship. This video or lecture will go in two parts. So this is the first part. We're going to look at what a relationship is defined as. Your text says that a relationship is defined as sets of experience two people have for the behavior based on the pattern of interaction between them. So we know that there's expectations in relationships. There are certain behaviors that are expected and their interaction between individuals. Good relationship is defined as ones in which interaction are satisfying to and healthy for those involved. So if you are in a good relationship, it must be a healthy relationship. It must be one where it is satisfying for both individuals and not just for one individual. So there are different types of relationship. The first type we have here would be acquaintances. And acquaintances are people we know by name and talk with when the opportunity arises, but with whom our interactions are largely impersonal. So there are people who we know by name and you talk to them. So a lot of your classmates, you will know their names and you'll talk with them, and you only talk to them when you have class, or if you are in a particular group, you sit next to each other, you interact with that particular person only in class, but outside of class you don't really have a relationship with them. You have impersonal communication, and that's where you are more given generic information. That's nothing that's personal. And impersonal information would be things like maybe your name. Some people think that name might be a bit too personal. For others, generally it is not. But naming, it's not that personal in that you want people to identify with you and identify you respectfully. So sharing your name is very important at times. There are guidelines for acquaintances. The first one is when you're initiating the conversation, you're expected to introduce yourself. You refer to things like physical context, and you refer to your thoughts and feelings, and you more or less try not to refer to other people or make joke of other people. You don't involve other people when you're trying to start a conversation. You develop an other-centered focus when you're asking your questions, and as you listen. You're not sharing too much about your personal thoughts in terms of giving out too much information about yourself, but then again, you're not going to be looking at talking about other individuals. You're going to focus on yourself. Then you engage in appropriate turn taking. That's where you speak, you allow the other person to speak, you do not dominate the conversation, or are you silent throughout the whole conversation. You make your comments relevant to what has been said. And lastly, you need to be polite. It's always important, whether you're talking with a friend, a loved one, or even an acquaintance, that you are polite to the person. You're not being disrespectful, you're listening in to what they're saying, you're exchanging information without being offensive. So let's move on to friends. Friends are people with whom we have negotiated more personal information that are vulnerable. So you are given information about yourself that's personal and you're volunteering it. You're not being held against your will in giving that information. So nobody should hold anything against you in terms of getting information. Like, I need to know this information because of any particular reason. So it's voluntary information, and more or less sometimes it says negotiated. With people we have negotiated more personal relationships. Negotiated in that you're always interacting with the person and exchanging information so that the relationship can work. So for friends and the guidelines, you have initiation. You want to be proactive in setting up times to spend with each other. I've always heard people say, well, I had friends, or I have that person's not my friend anymore because I'm always trying to. If the person is not setting up time to meet or spend, then it is up to you if you want to keep that friendship, that you set up times so that you can interact with that person. And then you have responsiveness. Each person must listen. Listen to others and respond to whatever they say. Listening is always so crucial, and we did the chapter about listening and responding. So you want to make sure that when you are in your conversation, that you are listening and your mind is not roaming all over the place. Self-disclosure is the last point. Friends share feelings with each other. Self-disclosure is when you disclose things about yourself to other people. Although acquaintances can be maintained by conversations to discuss surface issues or abstract ideas, a friendship is based on the exchange of more personal and specific information. And in this, you share like things like personal history, opinions, feelings, thoughts, your moods, etc. You want to make sure too that you give emotional support. Emotional support is where if your friend needs you, you're there for them. You're able to comfort, listen, guide, and just be there for them when they need you. And lastly, you have conflict management, which always comes up with friendship. And conflict management is where you're able to manage your conflict that arise, whenever the time comes up, and understand that disagreements will always happen, and you need to be very respectful and polite in dealing with your friend. So we have the next level, which is classed as close friends or intimates. Close friends or intimates. And close friends or intimates are people with whom we share a high degree of commitment. So 1, there is commitment. 2, trust. 3, interdependence. And 4, disclosure. And the relationship is for enjoyment. So 1, there's a high degree of commitment. So in close friends and intimates, you can't be in love with someone and you don't have a commitment to that person. There must be trust. You tell that person disclose things, they must be trustworthy. Then you have interdependence. I hate to hear individuals say, I'm in a relationship but I'm independent. There's not independence per se in a relationship. People are interdependent on each other, but yet there must be still a level of independence when there is the need for self-identity. You must not be so interdependent on the other person that you don't have self-identity. Then there's disclosure, where you're going to be definitely sharing a lot of information, your thoughts, feelings, if you sneezed or not. That it's like almost the silliest to most important things you actually share. And lastly, it must be a relationship that you enjoy and you take pleasure in having. There are 2 types in the close friends and intimates. You have platonic relationships and then you have romantic. Platonic relationships is an intimate relationship in which the partners are not sexually attracted to each other, or they don't act on that attraction. So platonic are just generalized deep friendship, nothing sexual, but even if there is an attraction or something like that, they don't act upon that attraction. Then romantic relationships is an intimate relationship where the partners act on their sexual attraction. So you have best friends and then you have lovers, and people are, there must be a difference between the two. The question arises in my interpersonal relationship class about, can your partner, your lover, be your best friend? And they kind of go hand in hand. You should want to have that close-knit relationship with the person who you're in love with, that you are spending maybe even the rest of your life with, so that you are free to share your thoughts and feelings with that person. Intimacy guidelines. You want to be, the first one is be dependable. Know that the person can come to you, trust you, and they can rely on you when they need you. There are lots of times that we go through when you need, because it's such a deep level relationship, that you need that person to just be there for you. You want to be responsive in meeting their partner's needs. At times, you're required to put sometimes your feelings aside for that particular person. You want to be collaborative in managing conflicts. You're working together, not just letting the person do it on their own or you do it on your own either. Be faithful is another point. Be faithful. It is so important that we are faithful to our partners and that we are with our best friends. You want to be trustworthy. Be transparent. You want to be as open as possible so that there is little room or doubt or any room for doubt in the relationship. And lastly, be willing to put your relationship first, so that you don't want to let other things come before the relationship. The relationship must come first.